Welcome everybody. It's time to see what the Soviet Union has in terms of weapons in the Fallout universe. I designed 6 weapons to showcase. These weapons reflect what I think the Soviets' approach to firearms in Fallout would be, as well as exploring a bit more of this little-known area in Fallout. But first, let's go over the introduction of the USSR. Soviet Russia, the USSR, was a major communist power existing before the Great War. However, it was eclipsed by China as the main foe of the United States, and enjoyed much more cordial relations by 2077. The Soviet Union was still a regional superpower that was capable of sustaining itself and defend its borders. Although the relations between the United States and the USSR were friendly for the most part, it still was considered a potential enemy for the United States. And while global tensions escalated to a boiling point, nuclear fire was unleashed on the USSR too. Let's dig out the past and see what small arms were made before the Great War and what was salvaged and created after it. I want to start with an energy weapon, specifically a Soviet laser rifle. After looking through an insane amount of Soviet prototype rifles, I was inspired to make this weapon. Soviet laser rifle, Luch, LVA-1, the lore. Developed by the mid-2060s by the Leningrad Institute of Electrotechnical Weaponry by Dmitry Andreev. The LVA-1 was the USSR's answer to the American AER series of energy rifles. Soviet engineers, lacking access to the US microfusion battery technology and advanced photonic focusing rays, had opted for an electrical-based system powered by thermoelectric cell packs. The LVA-1 design had to reflect the Soviets' approach to firearms, simplicity and maintainability. Although as a soldier, to wield an energy weapon you had to do extra training on its operation, safety procedures and maintenance, as they have to deal with high voltage systems and focused beams that may, in the best case scenario, zap them with electricity, or in the more extreme cases, cut off a part of their body, or worse, overheat and explode. It has an edge over the American counterpart with its ease of use and better accuracy, but loses in capacity and it's prone to overheating, which causes it to stop firing for a short period of time. The Soviet Union rushed it into the hands of the soldiers on the ground, even with these flaws, knowing that a more polished model is on its way being made. The Soviet Union did not want to be behind the United States when it came to the development of energy weapons. The LVA beam is powerful and is able to penetrate heavy armor with relative ease. What I mean here is individual body armor and not power armor, because of the USSR's isolation and limited technology in energy weapons. The LVA-1 saw use primarily among Soviet border guard, specialized units, and more elite brigades of the army. So although not all the units of the army used the LVA-1, it wasn't a crazy rare sight to see. It could be seen relatively often in the armed forces, just not wielded by everyone. Only those who qualified in energy weapons training. Post-war, the weapon is occasionally found in eastern territories with varying quality and condition. There are efforts to make a simpler version that will fit a post-war wasteland more, but it can only be done by the bigger factions of the region. I'm gonna show you some stats for the weapon. Next up is a Bullpup carbine, designed for armored vehicle crews, CQB, security forces, and some army units. The Korobov carbine K86, initially designed in the late 1960s by German Korobov and refined and finalized in the late 80s by the Tula Instrument Design Bureau, which overtook the project after it showed promise. The project started as army trials were held in search of a compact rifle that can be manufactured and deployed alongside the main full-length AK rifles. The K86 was intended for vehicle crews, special operation units, security forces, border guards, that needed something more compact, a weapon that is easy to transport and operate in a vehicle and tight spaces. The K-86 uses a shortened gas system and is a bullpup design. In order to lessen the weight of the weapon, a bakelite furniture was selected, although the weight reduction is not that great. What the K-86 was able to achieve is a controllable burst fire as long as the user doesn't spray and pray. It sports a very flat recoil between 2 and 4 round bursts. In service, the K-86 users praised its stopping power and controllability at close range, and for its compactness inside buildings, vehicles, trench lines, but was scolded for its relative complex disassembly that made it a hassle to maintain and clean it. Post-war fragments of the K-81 appear in old Soviet bases and checkpoints, in radar armories, and in the hands of urban militias across the former Soviet territories. Here are some stats for the weapon. The next weapon, the AK-114. Originally, the AK-114 began life as the AK-112. An experimental modernization program started in the late 1960s to produce a more accurate, lighter, and easier to maintain successor to the earlier Kalashnikov pattern weapon. Early prototypes have circulated quietly through the Bureau, but the project stalled. In 1988, a renewed requirements push was made by the Army, as the Army needed a more modernized rifle to replace the old ones, and a formal modernization program was prompted. Project 114M. The design was refined and standardized by Tula, which upgraded the rifle's internals and achieved a lighter recoil, which allowed fully automatic fire to be more accurate and controllable enough to be an actually viable option, and the fire rate was increased to 800 RPM. A big drawback was the heavy weight. The weapon weighed more than the previous AK pattern rifle. The Izhevsk factory took the engineering drawings and established the production line. The result was the AK-114, a rugged, modernized Kalashnikov that kept the simple maintenance but added a higher rate of fire and a far more controllable shooting experience. In pre-war service, it was issued to the infantry, reconnaissance detachments, and special units and special brigades. After the Great War, the weapon is still seen across the wastelands of the former Soviet republics. Here are some stats for the weapon. Next weapon is an energy weapon. It doubles as a repair tool and also as a handgun. Designed in the early 2060s by the Baikonur Aerospace Armaments Bureau, as a repair tool and emergency sidearm for the engineers of high-altitude planes, spaceplanes, and general military aircraft. It was especially issued to those who deployed in conflict zones. The PPM-64 was conceived as a compact, rugged energy weapon that could double as a maintenance tool, that could seal panels, energize emergency systems, and defend a crewman if the airbase was breached. The PPM wasn't issued to all engineers, as it was costly to produce at the time. Unlike the American energy pistols, the PPM-64 uses a small cell pack, a mini variant, easier to swap, a simple rotary emitter, and a hardened emitter lens. The design, although rugged, is very reliable. The internals are sealed from the elements inside the handgun, which makes it very durable. Because of its dual nature, it's prone to overheating and has to cool down for some time, as it is used more as a tool day to day. It's not the most accurate weapon, and when it's in its firing mode, it's draining the battery a lot faster. Here are some stats for the weapon. Next weapon is an SMG, a post-war one. This time it's just a simple post-war SMG. I heard you, no helical mags. This one does not have a helical mag, just a simple one. The Dyatlov, woodpecker. After the bombs fell, small mobile firearms were the most affordable option for a lot of survivors. In the ruins of one of the industrial towns, a handful of talented gunsmiths decided that they cannot rely on old weapons anymore, as the conditions of the weapons that survived were mostly very bad and required a lot of maintenance. For a long time, they had to service old weapons and came to know the ins and outs of most of what was available to them. So with all their combined experience and knowledge, they had banded together and reworked pre-war parts into weapons that could be produced from scavenged pre-war weapons, like old SMGs. One of the earliest, most successful of these designs were the Dyatlov, the woodpecker. The woodpecker's design philosophy was a straightforward one: reliability, ease of use, and ease of maintenance. Every single component was made from scratch from material available in a wasteland. The wooden furniture is often made from old wooden chairs, tables, and etc. The barrel and the bolt are made from scratch. Magazines are either repurposed or also made from scratch. Because they're easy to make and maintain, the woodpeckers are ubiquitous in urban ruins and make frequent appearances in raider armories, caravan guards, and small mercenary outfits. I will show you some stats for the woodpecker and also its silenced version. Also, I made this beat up version variant of the SMG, a special variant I called the original. I thought maybe attaching a quest to it would be an interesting idea. This is the first one ever made and can be acquired after finishing a quest for a descendant of one of the founders of the woodpecker, where he rewards you with an old beat-up prototype. The next weapon is a Soviet hunting rifle, the SVK-88, produced for hunting and sport. Before the Great War, the SVK-88 was a civilian hunting rifle, manufactured by Ijevsk Sporting Arms, marketed as a precision rifle for hunters. It combines the reliability of the SVD and the refined comfort of sport weapons. The Soviet Union had a lot of hunters and hunting culture, so this rifle was not a rare sight in the USSR. After the war, surviving examples can be found in ruined hunting lodges, some rural houses, or private collections. So post-war it could be seen relatively frequently, and still finds a lot of use hunting animals and also people. Although the scope did not always survive with the rifle, because of the time, neglect, and the elements. So survivors can just use iron sights or something else that they find or build themselves or acquire in the wasteland. A lot of wastelanders change out the original smoothbore barrel to one with rifling, because a lot of the hunting versions of this rifle came with a smoothbore barrel, and it's not that accurate. I'm gonna show you now some stats for the weapon. And that's it. Thank you everyone for subbing, liking, and engaging in the comments. Big thanks for all the great suggestions. When making this video, my mind was going all over the place in terms of the designs. I wanted to capture as much as possible, but there's just so much I can do in one video. So maybe in the future I will expand even more of my ideas of the Soviet Union in the Fallout universe. But for now, I think I will focus on some different interesting concepts for Fallout, maybe for some different games. Maybe I will touch on Half-Life, because this is a universe that I'm really interested in. There's also a lot of countries that I want to design their armed forces in Fallout, of course, and their weapons. For example, the UK, Germany, European Commonwealth, want to touch on Mexico. There's a lot of ideas and a lot of things to showcase, and I hope that you will come and see what I make. And thank you for all your support, and goodbye.